The research vessel Starlight drifted in the cold darkness of space like a broken toy. Captain Lisa Morgan stared at the red warning lights that covered her control panel. Every single one told her the same terrible story. Her ship was dying, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The fusion reactor had failed 3 days ago. The cascade failure happened so fast that her engineering team barely had time to shut down the main systems before everything went dark. Now they were running on emergency power that would last maybe 2 more days. After that, the life support would fail, and her crew of 12 would slowly suffocate in the cold vacuum of space. Lisa pressed her hands against her temples and tried to think. They had been conducting a routine mineral survey in the outer rim of the Kepler system when disaster struck. The mission was supposed to be simple: map the asteroid fields, take some samples, and return home to Zephyr Prime with enough data to keep the mining companies happy for another year. Instead, they were trapped millions of miles from the nearest space station with no way to call for help. Jake Sullivan looked up from his communications console. His blue skin had turned pale with worry, and his forearms moved nervously over the controls. As the ship's communications officer, he had been trying to send distress signals for the past 3 days. So far, nobody had answered. "Captain, I am still broadcasting on all emergency frequencies," Jake said. His voice carried the musical tone that all Zephyrians used when they were stressed. "The signal is strong enough to reach the Alteran colonies and the Centauri Federation. Someone should have heard us by now." Dr. Amy Collins sat at her research station reviewing the ship's technical manuals for the 100th time. She was the ship's xenobiologist and had no training in engineering, but desperation made her study every system diagram she could find. Maybe there was something the engineers had missed. Maybe there was still a way to fix the reactor. "The neutron flow regulators are completely burned out," she said without looking up from her screen. "Even if we had replacement parts, it would take weeks to rebuild the whole system. We need a rescue ship, or we need a miracle." "Navigation officer?" Ben Hayes checked his instruments again. He had been monitoring long-range sensors, hoping to spot any ship that might be passing through their sector. The shipping lanes were far away, but sometimes traders took shortcuts through the outer systems to avoid the patrol routes. "Wait," Ben said suddenly. His voice made everyone on the bridge turn toward him. "I am picking up something strange on the long-range sensors. There are ships approaching from the direction of Sol System." Dr. Collins looked confused. "Sol System? That cannot be right. Earth was quarantined by the Galactic Council hundreds of years ago. No ships are supposed to come from that direction." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Every spacefaring species knew the stories about Earth. It was a death world where the most dangerous predators in the galaxy had evolved. The humans who lived there were so violent and unpredictable that the Council had forbidden all contact with them. Ships that entered Sol System were never seen again. "Are you certain about those readings?" Lisa asked. "Could it be a sensor error?" Ben double-checked his equipment and shook his head. "No error, Captain. I count 5 ships moving toward us at high speed. They are coming from the exact direction of the Sol System. Their engine signatures do not match anything in our database." Jake worked frantically at his console trying to identify the approaching vessels. "I cannot get a clear scan at this distance, but they are definitely artificial constructs. The energy readings are unlike anything I have ever seen. Whatever kind of propulsion they are using, it is far more advanced than ours." Dr. Collins pulled up her files on human civilization. The data was limited because the Council had classified most information about Earth as too dangerous for public access. What little she could find painted a terrifying picture of a species that had conquered their entire planet through endless warfare. "According to these records," she said quietly, "humans evolved on a Class 12 death world. The gravity is twice what most species can survive. The weather patterns include massive storms that can destroy entire cities. The planet is covered with predators that hunt in coordinated packs. Every single life form on Earth had to fight constantly just to stay alive." Lisa tried to process what that meant. Her own world of Zephyr Prime was a peaceful garden planet. where the most dangerous animal was about the size of her thumb. The idea of evolving on a world where everything tried to kill you was beyond her understanding. The humans were quarantined because they were too aggressive, Dr. Collins continued. The few council ships that made contact with Earth reported that humans had turned warfare into an art form. They fought with weapons that could crack planets and strategies that could predict enemy movements years in advance. The council decided it was safer to pretend Earth did not exist. Ben watched his sensors as the unknown ships grew closer. Captain, they are definitely heading straight for us. At their current speed, they will reach us in approximately 4 hours. Lisa looked around at her crew. They were scientists and researchers, not soldiers. If the approaching ships really were human vessels, then her people were about to meet the most feared predators in known space. She had heard whispered stories of entire fleets disappearing when they accidentally wandered too close to Sol System. Should we try to hide? Asked Jake. We could power down all systems and drift like a dead ship. Maybe they will not notice. U.S. With what power? Dr. Collins replied. We barely have enough energy to keep life support running. If we shut down the reactor completely, we will freeze to death before they arrive. Lisa made her decision. Keep broadcasting the distress signal. If they are coming here anyway, then maybe they already know about us. At least this way we might get some answers before. She paused, not wanting to finish that thought. The bridge fell silent except for the steady beeping of warning alarms. Everyone knew the stories about what humans did to other species. Some said they ate their prisoners. Others claimed they used alien technology to build even more terrible weapons. A few whispered that humans could read minds and predict the future. Ben continued monitoring the approaching ships. Their formation is perfect, he said with reluctant admiration. They are maintaining exact distances and synchronized speeds. I have never seen fleet coordination that precise. That is because they are hunters, Dr. Collins said softly. Everything about human evolution was shaped by the need to hunt more efficiently than any other predator. They probably see our ship the same way we would see a wounded animal. Lisa thought about her crew and their families back home. Her engineer Katie Brown had 2 young children who were waiting for their mother to return from what should have been a routine mission, communications. Specialist Danny Miller was supposed to get married next month. Navigator Pete Johnson had just bought his first house and was planning to start a family. Now they were all going to meet their end at the hands of the galaxy's most notorious killers. Lisa wondered if anyone would ever know what happened to the Starlight. Would their families spend years wondering why they never came home, or would the humans leave enough evidence to tell the story? The red warning lights continued to flash as the unknown ships drew closer. In 4 hours, Lisa would finally learn if the stories about humanity were true. The 5 ships that emerged from the darkness of space looked nothing like any vessel in the Galactic Council database. Where Zephyrian ships were built with flowing curves that mimicked the graceful sea creatures of their homeworld. These human vessels appeared designed for only one purpose. They were weapons that happened to carry people inside them. Captain Lisa Morgan watched through the main view screen as the lead ship moved closer to the Starlight. Its hull was a dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect. Strange markings covered its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Along its sides she could see what appeared to be weapon ports, though she had no idea what kind of weapons they might contain. They are scanning us, reported Jake Sullivan from his communications console. The scan is incredibly detailed. They are mapping every system on our ship down to the individual power cables. I have never seen sensor technology this advanced. Dr. Amy Collins studied the readouts from her station. The scan is not just technical, she said with growing alarm. They are analyzing our biological signatures as well. They know exactly how many crew members we have and what species we are. They probably know our medical conditions and stress levels too. Ben Hayes monitored the tactical display as the human ships took positions around the Starlight. Captain, they have us completely surrounded. Perfect spacing to prevent any escape route. If we had working engines, we still could not get away from them. Lisa felt sweat forming on her forehead despite the cold air recycling through the ship. The humans had approached like predators studying prey. Every movement was calculated and precise. There was no wasted energy or unnecessary maneuvers. These were beings who had perfected the art of hunting other intelligent species. Incoming transmission, Jake announced. His voice trembled slightly as he worked his controls. They are broadcasting on standard diplomatic frequencies. The universal translator is working. Lisa straightened in her command chair and tried to look more confident than she felt. Put it on screen. The view screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what was obviously a military vessel. The figure standing in front of the camera was bipedal like most sentient species, but everything else about him was alien and terrifying. His skin was pale and smooth without the scales or fur that covered most intelligent life forms. Short brown hair covered the top of his skull in a pattern that suggested it was deliberately cut that way rather than natural growth. But it was his eyes that made Lisa's blood run cold. They were a bright blue color that seemed to take in every detail of her bridge at once. When he looked directly at her through the screen, she felt like a small animal being studied by a much larger predator. There was intelligence in those eyes, but also something else. Something that spoke of violence held carefully in check. "This is Commander Ryan Davis of the UES Defender," the human said. His voice was calm and controlled, but carried an undertone of absolute authority. "We received your distress signal. Prepare to be boarded for emergency assistance." Lisa exchanged glances with her crew. The human had not asked permission to board their ship. He had simply stated that it was going to happen. She realized that, in his mind, the decision had already been made and her opinion was not required. "Commander Davis," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady, "we appreciate your response to our emergency call. However, we were hoping to contact the Alteran fleet or perhaps the Centauri Federation. Perhaps there has been some kind of mistake." The human's expression did not change, but something that might have been amusement flickered in his eyes. "Number. Mistake, Captain. Your signal reached us first. We are the closest ships to your position. Stand by for boarding procedures." Dr. Collins quickly pulled up what little information she had about human technology and social structure. "Captain," she whispered urgently, "according to these files, humans have no concept of requesting permission for anything. Their entire society is built around taking what they need and dealing with the consequences later. If he says they are boarding our ship, then they are definitely boarding our ship." "What about our rights under Galactic Council law?" asked Ben. "They cannot just force their way onto a council vessel without proper authorization." Dr. Collins shook her head. "Humans are not members of the council. They are not bound by council law, and the council has no authority in their territory. We are dealing with a completely independent civilization that makes its own rules." Jake monitored his communications equipment as new signals appeared on his board. "Captain, I am detecting multiple transport signatures. They are already launching boarding craft. Small vessels that do not appear on my sensors until they are almost here. Some kind of stealth technology?" Lisa realized she had no choice in the matter. The humans were coming whether she gave permission or not. All she could do was try to minimize the damage when they arrived. "Open a channel to all hands. This is the captain speaking. We are about to receive visitors from Earth. I want everyone to remain calm and follow whatever instructions they give. Do not attempt to resist or interfere with their activities. Our lives may depend on complete cooperation." The first human transport craft docked with the Starlight so smoothly that Lisa barely felt the connection. There was no jarring impact or lengthy maneuvering process. One moment her ship was alone, and the next moment something had attached itself to her airlock with surgical precision. "Airlock cycle complete," reported the ship's computer in its neutral tone. "External atmosphere is compatible with shipboard systems. Pressure equalized. Boarding ramp is secure." Lisa heard footsteps in the corridor outside the bridge. They were different from the soft padding sounds that Zephyrian feet made when walking. These footsteps had a hard, decisive quality that spoke of beings who moved with purpose and confidence. The sound grew closer until it stopped, just outside the bridge entrance. The door slid open, and three figures entered wearing environmental suits that looked more like armor than protective gear. The suits were the same dark gray color as their ship and covered every inch of their bodies. Helmets with reflective faceplates hid their features, but Lisa could feel their eyes, studying every person and every piece of equipment on her bridge. The lead figure was slightly smaller than the others, and moved with a fluid grace that reminded Lisa of the hunting cats from her homeworld. When the figure reached the center of the bridge, it raised one hand to its helmet. There was a soft hissing sound as the helmet disengaged and lifted away. Lisa found herself looking at a human female with auburn hair and green eyes that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Her face was angular and sharp with high cheekbones and a strong jawline. When she smiled, Lisa saw teeth that were clearly designed for tearing flesh rather than grinding plant matter. "I am Lieutenant Kate Wilson," the human said. Her voice was smooth and controlled, but carried an undertone of barely contained energy. "I am here to assess your situation and determine what assistance you require. My team includes Chief Engineer Carl Thompson and Medical Specialist Alex Rivera." The other two humans removed their helmets, revealing faces that shared the same predatory alertness as their leader. Carl was a large male with short black hair and dark eyes that seemed to catalog every piece of machinery on the bridge. Alex appeared younger with blonde hair and blue eyes, but there was something in her expression that suggested she had seen things that would give most people nightmares. Kate pulled out a device that looked like a combination scanner and computer terminal. She aimed it at various ship systems and studied the readouts with professional interest. "Your fusion reactor has suffered a complete cascade failure," she said after a few moments. "Life support is operating on emergency power reserves. Estimated time until total system failure is approximately 36 hours. Lisa was amazed at how quickly the human had diagnosed their situation. Her own engineers had needed 3 days to reach the same conclusion, and they had access to all the ship's technical manuals and diagnostic equipment. "How did you determine that so quickly?" asked Dr. Collins. Her scientific curiosity was overcoming her fear of the predators who had invaded her ship. Kate looked at her with what might have been surprise. "Standard emergency assessment protocol. We scan the ship, identify critical system failures, and develop a repair timeline. This is basic procedure for any rescue operation." The casual way she said it made Lisa realize that humans considered their current situation to be routine. These beings dealt with disasters and emergencies so often that they had turned crisis management into a precise science. Lieutenant Kate Wilson moved through the starlight like she owned the ship. Her scanner beeped constantly as she examined every system and recorded detailed measurements of the damage. Behind her, Chief Engineer Carl Thompson studied the fusion reactor readings with the focused intensity of a predator studying wounded prey. "Captain." Lisa Morgan followed the humans as they worked, but she felt like an observer in her own vessel. Kate would point at a damaged component and Carl would nod in understanding. They communicated with subtle gestures and brief words that suggested years of working together in dangerous situations. "The neutron flow regulators are completely burned out," Carl said as he examined the reactor control panel. "The magnetic containment system has multiple fractures, and the plasma injection system is operating at 12% efficiency, normally. This would be a 3-week repair job in a fully equipped shipyard." Dr. Amy Collins looked up from her research station where she had been monitoring the humans with growing amazement. "Normally," she repeated. "Are you saying you can fix our reactor faster than that?" Carl glanced at Kate, who gave him a barely perceptible nod. "We can have your reactor online in approximately 4 hours, he said. "It will not be pretty, but it will get you home safely." Jake Sullivan stared at the human engineer in disbelief. 4 hours? Our own engineering team estimated it would take weeks even if we had replacement parts. How is that possible? "Emergency field repairs," Kate explained as she moved to the life support console. "We carry modular components that can be adapted to most standard reactor designs. Carl has rebuilt fusion systems under combat conditions, so a simple cascade failure is not particularly challenging." Lisa felt a chill at the casual mention of combat conditions. She wondered what kind of situations these humans normally face that made her ship's disaster seem routine. Combat conditions, she asked carefully. Kate looked at her with those unsettling green eyes. Reactor damage during battle. Enemy fire disabling primary systems while you are still under attack. Making repairs while people are shooting at you? Standard stuff? Medical specialist Alex Rivera had been quietly scanning the Zephyrian crew. Members with a device that looked more advanced than anything in the ship's medical bay. Captain, your crew is showing signs of carbon dioxide poisoning and oxygen deprivation, she reported. I need to adjust your atmospheric recycling system. Immediately. Is that safe? Asked Ben Hayes. Our life support systems are calibrated specifically for Zephyrian physiology. Any changes could be dangerous. Alex smiled and Lisa saw those predatory teeth again. I have medical data on 47 different species, including complete atmospheric requirements for Zephyrians. Your people need 22% oxygen with trace amounts of argon and xenon. Currently, your recycling system is only producing 18% oxygen, which is why your crew is experiencing fatigue and cognitive impairment. Dr. Collins checked her medical scanner and confirmed Alex's diagnosis. She is right. I have been feeling dizzy for the past day, but I thought it was just stress from our situation. Alex worked quickly at the life support console, making adjustments that immediately improved the air quality on the bridge. Lisa could feel the difference as her mind became clearer and her breathing easier. The human had diagnosed and fixed a problem that the Zephyrian crew had not even realized they had. How do you know so much about our biology? Dr. Collins asked. Humans have been quarantined for centuries. Where did you get detailed medical information about our species? Kate and Alex exchanged a look that made Lisa nervous. We study everyone, Kate said simply. Knowledge about other species is essential for survival. We know the atmospheric requirements, dietary needs, social structures, and military capabilities of every civilization in this sector of the galaxy. Carl called out from the reactor compartment. Kate, I need you to look at this. The damage pattern is not consistent with a random cascade failure. Someone sabotaged this reactor and they knew exactly what they were doing. Lisa felt her blood turn cold. Sabotage? That is impossible. My crew has been together for 3 years. We trust each other completely. Kate moved to examine Carl's findings while Alex continued her medical scans of the crew. The damage was caused by introducing a destabilizing agent into the neutron flow system, Kate said after studying the readings. It was designed to cause a cascade failure several hours after injection. Very sophisticated work. Who would do such a thing? Asked Jake. We are a research vessel conducting mineral surveys. We have no enemies and nothing valuable to steal. Alex looked up from her medical scanner with a grim expression. Kate, I am detecting traces of Raxor pheromones on several crew members, specifically on their clothing and personal effects. Someone has been in contact with Raxor agents within the past week. Lisa felt the bridge spinning around her. The Raxor were notorious pirates who specialized in capturing ships and selling the crews into slavery. They were known for their brutality and their complete lack of mercy for anyone who opposed them. That cannot be right, Ben protested. We have not encountered any other ships since we left Zephyr Prime 2 weeks ago. How could we have Raxor pheromones on us? Kate studied her scanner readings carefully. The traces are concentrated on items that were handled recently. Personal datapads, clothing, tools. Someone on this ship has been in direct contact with Raxor agents, and they planted a sabotage device that was programmed to activate after you reach this location. Dr. Collins checked her own equipment for traces of alien contamination. I am reading the same pheromone signatures that Alex detected, but I still do not understand how this is possible. None of us have left the ship since we began our mission. Carl emerged from the reactor compartment carrying a small metallic device that pulsed with a faint red light. I found this attached to the neutron flow regulator. It is definitely Raxor technology designed to cause exactly the kind of cascade failure you experienced. Kate examined the device and her expression grew darker. This is a tracking beacon as well as a sabotage tool. It has been broadcasting your location to someone for the past 3 days. The Raxor know exactly where you are and they are probably on their way here right now. Lisa looked around at her crew trying to determine who might be a traitor. But everyone appeared as shocked and confused as she felt. Why would the Raxor want to capture a research vessel? We have nothing of value except some mineral samples. Alex finished her medical scans and holstered her equipment. Zephyrians are highly prized in the slave markets because of your docile nature and high intelligence. A crew of 12 scientists would bring a substantial profit for any slaver willing to transport them to the outer rim markets. The implications hit Lisa like a physical blow. Someone had deliberately sabotaged her ship to strand them in this remote location where the Raxor could capture them without interference from Council patrol ships. Her crew had been betrayed by someone they trusted and delivered into the hands of the galaxy's most brutal pirates. Kate activated her communicator and spoke quickly to someone on the human fleet. Commander Davis, this is Wilson. We have a sabotage situation with Raxor involvement. Request immediate tactical assessment of local space. The response came back within seconds. Confirmed, Lieutenant. Long-range sensors are detecting a Raxor war fleet approaching this system. 15 heavy cruisers with full fighter complements. Estimated arrival time is 3 hours and 40 minutes. Lisa felt her legs go weak. 15 Raxor cruisers carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon? Even if the humans completed their repairs, the Starlight could never outrun that many ships. They were trapped with nowhere to go and no way to escape. Commander, what are your orders? Kate asked calmly as if she were discussing routine maintenance, instead of an approaching fleet of pirates. Standard Protection Protocol, Lieutenant. Prepare the Starlight for emergency transit and implement Combat Readiness Condition 1. We will deal with the Raxor when they arrive. Kate closed her communicator and turned to address the Zephyrian crew. Captain Morgan, I need your people to remain calm and follow our instructions exactly. We are going to get you out of this situation, but you need to trust us completely. Lisa looked at the human woman who stood before her like a predator preparing for battle. Kate's green eyes showed no fear or uncertainty about facing 15 enemy warships with only 5 human vessels. She appeared as confident as if she were planning a grocery shopping trip instead of a desperate fight for survival. How can 5 ships defeat 15 Raxor cruisers? Lisa asked. They have more firepower and 3 times as many fighters. This is hopeless. Kate smiled, and Lisa saw something in her expression that was both reassuring and terrifying. Captain, you are thinking like prey. We do not run from predators. We are the predators. Carl Thompson worked on the Starlight's fusion reactor with movements that seemed almost too fast to follow. His hands moved across the control panels like he had built the system himself rather than seeing it for the first time an hour ago. Captain Lisa Morgan watched in amazement as components that should have taken days to replace were swapped out in minutes. The modular repair units are adapting perfectly to your reactor design, Carl explained as he installed what looked like a small metal cube into the neutron flow regulator housing. Human technology is built to interface with any system we encounter. We learned long ago that flexibility is the key to survival. Dr. Amy Collins studied the replacement parts with scientific fascination. These components are far more advanced than anything in our technology database. The power output efficiency is nearly twice what our original parts could achieve. How did you develop such sophisticated engineering? Carl paused in his work and looked at her with dark eyes that seemed older than his apparent age. Necessity. On Earth, if your technology fails, you die. There's no backup plan and no one coming to rescue you. Every system has to work perfectly the first time or people get killed. Alex Rivera continued her medical treatment of the Zephyrian crew, while monitoring her scanner for any signs of the approaching Raxor fleet. Your people are responding well to the atmospheric adjustments, she told Lisa. Oxygen levels are back to normal and the carbon dioxide poisoning is clearing up nicely. Ben Hayes watched the human medic work with equipment that seemed almost magical in its capabilities. Alex, how did you become so skilled at treating alien species? Medical training? For other races is not something most civilizations teach. Alex smiled, but there was something sad in her blue eyes. On Earth, we have to learn to heal anything that gets hurt. Humans, animals, sometimes even our enemies. Life is precious when you live on a world that is constantly trying to kill everything on it. Kate Wilson studied her tactical display as she coordinated with the human fleet. Her scanner showed the Raxor ships growing closer with each passing minute. 15 heavy cruisers and their fighter escorts would normally be considered an overwhelming force by any reasonable military standard. Tell me about your homeworld, Dr. Collins asked. Her scientific curiosity was overcoming her fear of the humans, who had invaded her ship. What makes Earth so dangerous that it shaped your entire species into warriors? Kate looked up from her tactical planning and considered the question. Imagine a planet where the weather can kill you without warning. Storms that tear apart mountains, ice ages that freeze entire continents, volcanoes that block out the sun for years at a time. She gestured to Carl, who was installing another replacement component. Now add predators that hunt in coordinated packs, animals that are stronger, faster, and more aggressive than anything you can imagine. Diseases that can wipe out entire populations. Plants that are poisonous to touch. Alex nodded as she worked on her medical equipment. Every species on Earth had to compete for limited resources: food, water, shelter, territory. Everything was a struggle, and only the strongest and smartest survived to reproduce. Dr. Collins tried to imagine such a hostile environment. Her own world of Zephyr Prime was a garden paradise where the most dangerous weather event was a gentle summer rainstorm. How did humans become the dominant species in such conditions? Carl finished his work on the reactor and began running diagnostic tests. We became better at everything than anything else. Better at hunting, better at fighting, better at solving problems. We developed tools and weapons and strategies that gave us advantages over every other predator. We also learned to work together, Kate added. Humans form social bonds that allow us to coordinate our activities better than any other species. We share information, divide responsibilities, and support each other through any crisis. Lisa watched the humans work and began to understand why the Galactic Council had quarantined Earth. These beings had evolved in conditions that would kill most civilized species within days. They treated her ship's disaster as a routine problem, because they dealt with life-threatening situations constantly. The reactor is coming online, Carl reported. Power levels are stabilizing and all systems are showing green across the board. You now have more reliable fusion containment than when your ship was first built. Jake Sullivan monitored his communications equipment as new signals appeared on his display. Captain, I am detecting the Raxor fleet on long-range sensors. They are moving fast and will be here in less than 2 hours. Kate activated her communicator and spoke to Commander Davis on the flagship. Reactor repairs complete. The Starlight is mobile and can be moved to a safe distance before the Raxor arrive. Negative, Lieutenant. We are not running from pirates. Maintain current position and prepare for engagement. Lisa felt her blood turn cold. Commander Davis, you cannot seriously be planning to fight 15 Raxor cruisers with only 5 ships. That is tactical suicide. Kate looked at her with those predatory green eyes. Captain, you keep thinking about this the wrong way. Numbers only matter if both sides are equally matched. The Raxor have more ships, but we have better ships, better weapons, better training, and better tactics. Alex finished her medical work and began packing her equipment. The Raxor are bullies who prey on defenseless victims. They have never faced an opponent that could fight back effectively. Most of their experience comes from attacking unarmed. Merchant vessels and research ships? Carl ran final diagnostics on the reactor and nodded with satisfaction. Their ships are big and heavily armed, but they are not built for real combat. Raxor cruisers are designed to intimidate weak opponents, not fight disciplined military forces. Dr. Collins studied the tactical data on her scanner. But they have 3 times as many ships as you do. Even if your vessels are superior, the odds are still against you. Kate smiled, and Lisa saw those sharp predatory teeth again. Doctor, let me tell you something about human military doctrine. We do not fight fair, we fight to win. Fair fights are for sports and games. Real combat is about using every advantage you can find to destroy your enemy as quickly and efficiently as possible. What kind of advantages? Asked Ben. He was clearly fascinated by human military thinking. Despite his fear of the approaching battle, Carl checked his equipment one final time. Superior weapons technology, better sensor systems, more advanced defensive shields, faster and more maneuverable ships. But most importantly, we have something the Raxar do not have. Which is what? Lisa asked. Kate looked directly at her with an expression that was both reassuring and terrifying. Experience fighting real wars against real enemies. Every human fleet officer has trained for combat since childhood. We study battle tactics the way your people study mineral formations. War is not just something we do when necessary. War is what we were born for. Alex moved toward the airlock where the human transport was waiting. The Raxar think they are apex predators because they can terrorize defenseless civilians. They are about to learn what real predators look like. The 3 humans gathered their equipment and prepared to return to their own ship. Kate paused at the bridge entrance and turned back to address the Zephyrian crew. Captain Morgan, I want you and your people to remain on your bridge during the engagement. Do not attempt to leave the ship or interfere with our operations. Keep your reactor online and your life support systems running. We will handle everything else. Lisa looked at the human woman who stood before her like a force of nature preparing to unleash destruction on her enemies. What if something happens? To your ships? What if the Raxar win? Kate's smile was cold and sharp as a blade. Captain, that is not going to happen. The Raxar picked the wrong species to hunt. They are about to discover why humans are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. As the humans left the bridge, Lisa could hear their footsteps echoing through the corridors of her ship. The sound was different now. No longer the careful movements of rescuers assessing a disaster, but the purposeful stride of warriors preparing for battle. Through the view screen, she could see the 5 human ships taking positions around the starlight. Their formation looked like a pack of hunting animals surrounding prey they intended to protect. The dark hulls seemed to absorb starlight. As their weapon systems powered up for combat. In the distance, long-range sensors showed the approaching Raxar fleet growing larger and more menacing with each passing minute. 15 heavy cruisers with enough firepower to reduce the starlight to space dust in seconds. Pirates who had terrorized this sector of space for decades and never met an opponent they could not defeat. Lisa wondered if she was about to witness the destruction of her rescuers or the birth of a legend that would be told throughout the galaxy for generations to come. The Raxar War fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a storm of death and destruction. 15 massive cruisers emerged from the swirling energy of the jump point with their weapon systems already charging for battle. Each ship was over a kilometer long and bristled with enough firepower to level a small city. Captain, Lisa Morgan watched through the starlight's viewscreen as the pirate fleet formed into attack formation. She had seen Raxar ships before in intelligence briefings, but never this many at once. The sight was terrifying even at a distance of several million kilometers. They are launching fighters, reported Jake Sullivan from his communications console. I count at least 300 small craft moving toward our position. They will be in weapons range in approximately 10 minutes. Dr. Amy Collins monitored her scanner as the massive enemy fleet approached. Captain, the Raxar ships are broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. They want us to power down our engines and prepare to be boarded. Ben Hayes checked his navigation displays and shook his head in amazement. The human ships are not moving to intercept. They are maintaining position around us like they are planning to fight from a defensive stance. Lisa watched the 5 human vessels that surrounded the starlight. They looked impossibly small compared to the approaching Raxar fleet. The UES Defender and its 4 escort ships appeared to be stationary targets waiting to be destroyed by overwhelming enemy firepower. "This is insane," she whispered. "They should be running while they still have time. No one can fight those odds and hope to survive." The lead Raxor cruiser opened a communication channel, and the view screen filled with the image of a massive reptilian creature covered in battle scars. Captain Vex Murdoch was one of the most feared pirates in this sector of space. His yellow eyes glowed with predatory hunger as he spoke. "Unknown vessels, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your ships and the slow death of your crews." Commander Ryan Davis appeared on a split-screen display. His calm human features contrasted sharply with the savage appearance of the Raxor pirate captain. When he spoke, his voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds before and survived. "Captain Murdoch, this is Commander Davis of the United Earth Fleet. You are hereby ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Any hostile action against the vessels under our protection will be considered an act of war." The Raxor captain threw back his massive head and laughed. The sound was like grinding metal mixed with the roar of an angry predator. "Human, you are either very brave or very stupid. I have 15 cruisers and you have 5 small ships. Surrender now, and I will kill you quickly instead of feeding you to my pets." Commander Davis smiled, and Lisa saw the same cold, predatory expression she had noticed on Lieutenant Kate Wilson and her team. "Captain Murdoch, you have made 2 critical errors. First, you assume that numbers determine the outcome of a battle. Second, you assume that we are prey instead of predators." The communication channel closed and the human ships began to move. Lisa watched in amazement as the 5 vessels flowed into a new formation with the fluid grace of hunting animals. Their movements were so perfectly coordinated that they seemed to be controlled by a single mind. "Human fleet is accelerating toward the Raxor ships," Ben reported. "They are not running away. They are attacking." Dr. Collins stared at her instruments in disbelief. "The energy readings from the human ships are off our scales. Whatever kind of weapons they are carrying, the power output is beyond anything in our database." The battle began when the UES Defender opened fire at a range that should have been impossible for any known weapon system. Beams of pure energy lanced across space and struck the lead Raxor cruiser with surgical precision. The massive pirate ship's shields flared and collapsed in seconds. "How are they hitting targets at that distance?" asked Jake. "No energy weapon should be effective beyond 50,000 kilometers. They are firing from 10 times that range." Lisa watched as the human ships spread out and began attacking the Raxor fleet from multiple directions simultaneously. Their weapons seemed to ignore conventional physics as they struck with devastating accuracy across impossible distances. The Raxor fighters that had been launched to overwhelm the human ships found themselves hopelessly outmatched. Human defensive systems destroyed entire squadrons of enemy craft with streams of energy that moved faster than the eye could follow. Explosions bloomed across space like deadly flowers as pirate fighters died by the dozens. "The human ships are not taking any damage," Dr. Collins reported. "Raxor weapons are impacting their shields, but the energy is being absorbed or deflected somehow. Their defensive technology is centuries ahead of anything we have ever seen." Captain Murdoch's voice roared across the communication channels as his fleet suffered casualties at an alarming rate. "All ships focus fire on the human flagship. Concentrate everything we have on that single target." The entire Raxor fleet turned their weapons toward the UES Defender and unleashed a barrage that should have vaporized any ship in known space. Energy beams, missile salvos, and particle cannons all struck the human vessel simultaneously in a display of firepower that lit up space like a small sun. When the light faded, the UES Defenders emerged from the attack completely undamaged. Its shields had absorbed the combined firepower of 15 heavy cruisers without even flickering. Commander Davis opened a new communication channel, and his expression showed mild annoyance rather than fear. "Captain Murdoch, that was your one free shot. Now you get to see what happens when humans fight back. What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. The 5 human ships attacked the Raxor fleet with a coordination and efficiency that defied belief. They moved like a pack of apex predators, taking down much larger prey through superior tactics and overwhelming skill. The UES Defender and its escorts did not simply destroy the enemy ships. They dismantled them with surgical precision. Weapon systems were targeted and eliminated, first leaving the Raxor vessels helpless. Then engines were disabled, preventing any escape. Finally, the human ships methodically destroyed each pirate cruiser with weapons that seemed to ignore shields and armor equally. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, the space around the starlight was filled with the glowing debris of 15 Raxor cruisers and 300 fighter craft. Not a single human ship had taken significant damage. Captain Murdoch's final transmission was a scream of rage and terror as his flagship broke apart under human weapons fire. This is impossible. Nothing can fight like this. What kind of monsters are you? Commander Davis appeared on the view screen one final time. His expression was calm and professional, as if he had just completed routine maintenance rather than destroying an entire pirate fleet. Captain Morgan, threat neutralized. We will escort your vessel to the nearest council station for repairs and debriefing. Lisa stared at the aftermath of the battle in complete shock. The most feared pirate fleet in this sector of space had been obliterated by 5 human ships in less time than it took to conduct a normal system diagnostic. The efficiency of the destruction was more terrifying than the violence itself. How is this possible? She whispered. No civilization in the galaxy has military technology that advanced. Where did humans develop such capabilities? Dr. Collins checked her readings again to make sure her instruments were functioning properly. Captain, the energy signatures during that battle were unlike anything in our scientific databases. Human weapons technology appears to be centuries beyond our current understanding of physics. Jake monitored the communication channels as the human fleet took escort positions around the starlight. The human ships are broadcasting standard diplomatic codes. They are treating this like a routine rescue operation rather than a major military engagement. Ben studied his navigation displays as the small convoy began moving toward the nearest council space station. Captain, I think we need to completely revise our understanding of human capabilities. They are not just dangerous. They are the apex predators of the entire galaxy. Lisa looked through the view screen at the 5 human vessels that surrounded her ship like protective guardians. She realized that her crew had been rescued by beings who existed on a completely different level of evolution. Humans were not just another spacefaring species. They were something entirely unique and terrifying. Dr. Collins, she said quietly, when we reach the station, I want you to prepare a complete report on everything we have witnessed. The Galactic Council needs to know that the quarantine of Earth is not protecting other species from human aggression. What is it protecting us from then? Dr. Collins asked. Lisa watched the stars stream past as the human ships escorted them toward safety. It is protecting us from realizing how helpless we really are. Humans could probably conquer the entire galaxy if they wanted to. The fact that they choose to rescue stranded ships instead of building an empire is the only reason the rest of US are still free. As the starlight traveled through space under human protection, Lisa began to understand why the galaxy's most dangerous predators had decided to become its most unlikely guardians.